All right. So, let's begin. I just want to, before I move into story time, I just want to say that this August we have been talking about the balaclóhe or stone wall, which is this representation we talk about here at Soul Center for our boundaries, that we each have a stone wall, we each have a balaclóhe. And in this particular week, in the words of Julia, we are focusing on the stones of emotion and action, the building blocks of one's boundaries. No emotion is wasted, no action is wasted. All feelings and reactivity can become stones of wisdom that we can reverently place in a boundary to define our lives. So I was very inspired by this week's topic and by some things that happened in my life, to rather than just tell the story of them outwardly and what I learned from them, to turn them into a children's story, which are stories, of course, with metaphors and allegories that teach us about those very things. And so this is to bring out our inner children. So get comfy, cozy up, take a big stretch, and allow me to speak to your inner child with great love and great care. This is called Maggie and the Stone Wall. Maggie made something. It was something she made with her whole heart. It took her a long time. When she was finished, Maggie felt warm and proud and full inside. She brought it to her friend Oliver. "This is wonderful," Oliver said, smiling. "It's really good." Maggie beamed. Her heart glowed. "And," Oliver said, "maybe we could just try a little change here, just a tiny one. I know a trick that might help." Maggie stopped glowing. She stopped beaming. Her heart flipped and flopped. She didn't like what he said. She didn't like how it felt. So Maggie went behind her wall and hid. She felt hot. She felt sad. She felt mad. She knew Oliver hadn't said anything mean. Not really. Not out loud. But inside, it felt like he had tossed a rock at her. A rock she didn't ask for. A rock that landed right in her space. When Maggie was little, she had a stone wall, but she didn't know that's what it was. She just knew that when people said certain things, something heavy would land inside her space. Once, when she colored outside the lines, her art teacher said, "You're not following instructions right." A large pink rock landed with a thud. It said, "It's not okay to do things differently." Once, when she was overwhelmed, her guardian said, "That's okay, sweetie. I'll just finish it for you." A blue rock rolled in slowly. It said, "You can't do hard things." Once, her creative writing teacher said, "You can't write like that until you're famous." A big red rock crashed down, and it said, "You'll never be good at anything." Once, someone she was trying to be friends with said, "You're too weird." A yellow rock spun in circles, and it said, "You'll never fit in." Once, a boss said, "You don't have what it takes." A sharp orange rocks skidded across her floor, and it said, "You'll never be good enough." Back then, Maggie didn't know how to stop these rocks. She didn't know she could pick them up, examine them, or decide which ones could stay. She didn't know she had a choice. But now Maggie was older, and Maggie had been learning to take care of her stone wall. She kept the place clean, she made the wall stronger and safer, and she planted sunflowers along the edges. She also added her own stones, soft and smooth ones with words like kindness, pause, and "I get to decide what stays." But sometimes the old rocks still rattled. Maggie was getting better at noticing them, better at whispering, "This doesn't belong to me anymore." Still, when Oliver made his suggestion, kind, thoughtful, and full of love, the old stones shook. They rattled in their places, and they reminded her of old things. Even though Oliver hadn't tossed a rock, even though he had held her creation like it mattered, it still felt like a stone had landed, and the wall grew taller. So tall that Maggie couldn't see Oliver at all. Inside, Maggie sat down. She breathed. She let herself settle. And after a while, when she felt her feet again and her breath again, she tiptoed to her wall. Carefully, she removed just one stone, just one, and through the small space, she could see Oliver's eyes. They were waiting, soft and steady. "I'm sorry I snapped," she whispered. "It felt like you threw a rock at me." Oliver blinked. "I didn't mean to." "I know," Maggie said. "It was an old rock from before." Oliver nodded. "Thank you for telling me." Maggie sat a little longer. She didn't rush. Then she stood up, took a deep breath, and began removing more stones, slowly, one at a time, until she could see Oliver's face, and then his shoulders, then his chest, until Maggie could see him from the heart up. He smiled. "I'm still here," he said, and Maggie smiled too. "Me too," she said. Then Maggie said, "I think I need to go tend to my wall for a bit." So she did. She dusted, she hummed, she moved a few old stones into the corner and placed a sign on top of that said, "Old Stones." She didn't throw them away. She knew she might want to pick them up and examine them again someday, now that she knew she could. She added a small, smooth, new stone to the top of her wall. The wall wasn't as tall as it had been before, and the new stone was for Oliver. It had the word "together" carved into it. Maggie smiled. She watered the sunflowers, she sat in the sunlight, and she hummed her quiet tune. And she thought, even when my wall grows tall, I can still come back. Even when old stones shake, I can still choose what to do with them. Even when it's hard to see, I can still make a space to look through. Because now she knew having big feelings does not mean she's broken. And tending to her stone wall is important. It's how she honors who she used to be, and it's how she makes space for who she is becoming. The end.